Have you ever made a decision and later realized you could have avoided everything if you had more wisdom? The book of Proverbs exists exactly for that, to teach us how to live with discernment even before mistakes happen. Written largely by King Solomon, this book brings together timeless principles that continue to guide lives to this day. More than simple advice, Proverbs reveals practical instructions that come from God and have the power to transform attitudes, words, and choices. Each verse is a clear direction for those who desire to live with balance, justice, and purpose. Today, we are going to explore 15 powerful teachings from Proverbs that can truly impact your life. Before we continue, write in the comments where you are watching from. It's very special to see how far this message is reaching. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can keep receiving biblical teachings that strengthen your faith and bring direction to your daily life. Let's begin. Teaching 1. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Proverbs 1:7. The book of Proverbs begins by showing that true wisdom is born in a relationship with God. To fear the Lord is not to be afraid, but to live with reverence, recognizing His authority and seeking to please Him in everything. When we place God at the center, our decisions become more firm and aligned with the truth. On the other hand, the verse warns that fools reject instruction, choosing instead to follow their own paths. This shows that wisdom requires humility to learn and accept correction. In a world full of opinions, fearing God gives us a secure direction. This lesson teaches us that a truly wise life is built day by day when we choose to listen to God's voice above any other and allow Him to guide our paths with security and purpose. Teaching 2. Trust in God above all. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3:5-6. This teaching invites us to fully trust in God, even when we do not understand what is happening. Many times we want to control everything with our own logic, but our understanding is limited. Trusting in God means depending on Him with sincerity and faith. Acknowledging Him in all our ways involves including God in our daily decisions, plans, and important choices. The promise is clear. He will make our paths straight, guiding our steps with security. This does not eliminate challenges, but it guarantees direction. This lesson shows us that peace comes when we allow God to lead our lives. Instead of living in anxiety, we learn to rest, knowing that God sees beyond what we can see. Teaching 3. Guard your heart. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4:23. This verse reveals that the heart is the source of our decisions, emotions, and attitudes. Everything we do first begins within us. That is why the Bible instructs us to carefully guard our hearts. What we see, hear, and allow indirectly influences our lives. If the heart is filled with negative things, it will be reflected in our words and actions. Guarding the heart means watching thoughts, avoiding harmful influences, and seeking what builds us up. In a world full of distractions, this practice becomes essential. This lesson teaches us that transformation begins within. When we take care of our hearts, our choices become wiser, and our lives begin to reflect balance, peace, and direction. Teaching 4. A gentle answer prevents conflict. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Proverbs 15:1. This proverb shows the impact our words have in everyday situations. In moments of conflict, it is common to respond harshly, but that only increases tension. The Bible teaches that a calm response can completely change the direction of a conversation. Speaking with gentleness is not weakness, but a sign of control and wisdom. Soft words have the power to calm, while harsh words fuel anger and create more conflict. This lesson reminds us that we are responsible for what we say. Choosing to respond calmly can preserve relationships and prevent bigger problems. Wisdom lies in understanding that not every situation requires an impulsive reaction, but rather a balanced response. Teaching 5. Pride comes before the fall. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. This verse reveals a clear principle. Pride is dangerous. When a person becomes filled with pride, they begin to rely only on themselves and stop listening to advice or recognizing their mistakes. This makes them vulnerable to poor decisions and difficult consequences. A haughty spirit distances a person from humility, which is essential for growth. God values a humble heart, willing to learn and correct its path. This lesson teaches us to watch our attitudes and avoid arrogance. Recognizing our limitations protects us from falling and draws us closer to wisdom. Instead of seeking exaltation, we should pursue humility, because it is in humility that we find true direction and lasting growth. Teaching 6. A joyful heart is good medicine. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Proverbs 17:22. This proverb shows how our emotions influence our health. A joyful heart strengthens, brings lightness, and contributes to well-being. On the other hand, a crushed spirit deeply affects a person, draining strength and hope. The joy mentioned here does not depend only on circumstances, but on an inner attitude. When we trust in God, we find reasons to keep our hearts steady even in difficult times. This lesson teaches us to cultivate positive thoughts, gratitude, and faith. This does not mean ignoring problems, but facing them with hope. A joyful heart transforms the environment around us and also impacts others. True joy comes from within and strengthens life in every way. Teaching 7. The Lord directs our steps. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Proverbs 16:9. This verse shows the balance between our plans and God's direction. It is natural to make plans and think about the future, but we must remember that God has the final control. Many times things do not happen as we expect, and this can lead to frustration. However, this teaching reminds us that God sees beyond what we can see. He adjusts our paths according to His will. This lesson teaches us to trust, even when plans change. Instead of resisting, we should learn to recognize God's direction. When He guides our steps, we are on the right path, even without understanding everything. Trusting in divine direction brings peace and security. Teaching 8. Words have power. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Proverbs 18:21. This verse reveals the impact of words. What we say can build up or tear down, encourage or hurt. Many times we do not realize the weight of our words, but they have real power over people and situations. Negative words can create conflict and pain, while positive words bring life and hope. This lesson teaches us to speak with wisdom and responsibility. Before speaking, it is important to reflect on the effect our words will have. The way we communicate reveals what is in our hearts. When we use our tongue wisely, we create environments of peace and growth. Our words are seeds that produce fruit, either good or bad. Teaching 9. A path may seem right, but it can be deceptive. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Proverbs 14:12. This teaching warns us about the limits of our own judgment. Many times, something may seem right in our eyes, but it can lead us to harmful consequences. This happens when we follow only our own will without seeking God's direction. Not everything that looks good truly is. This lesson teaches us not to rely solely on appearances or our own opinions. We need to evaluate our choices with wisdom and seek guidance in the Word of God. Deception can be subtle, but its consequences are serious. That is why it is important to reflect before making decisions. When we put God first, we avoid dangerous paths. True security is found in aligning our decisions with God's will. Teaching 10. Better is little with righteousness. Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues without justice. Proverbs 16:8. This proverb teaches us about true values. Having little but living with righteousness and integrity is better than having much gained through wrong actions. In a world that often values wealth above everything, this teaching reminds us that character is more important than money. Gaining something unjustly may seem beneficial at first, but it can lead to negative consequences. Righteousness brings peace, while injustice creates burden and insecurity. This lesson teaches us to live with honesty, even when it requires sacrifice. God honors those who choose the right path. The true value of life is not found in the amount of possessions, but in the condition of the heart. Teaching 11. A true friend remains. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Proverbs 17:17. This verse reveals the value of true friendship. A real friend is not present only in good times, but also in difficulties. It is in challenging moments that we discover who truly stands by our side. This kind of relationship goes beyond ordinary companionship and becomes like a family bond. This lesson teaches us to value and cultivate sincere friendships. It also challenges us to be that kind of person for others. Being present, offering support, and helping in times of need demonstrate genuine love. In a world where many relationships are superficial, faithful friendship is a great treasure. God teaches us to build relationships based on loyalty and care. Teaching 12. Hurry can lead to mistakes. It is not good to act without knowledge, and he who hurries his steps sins. Proverbs 19:2. This teaching warns us about the danger of haste. Acting without thinking can lead to wrong decisions and unwanted consequences. Many times we want to solve everything quickly, but a lack of reflection can create even bigger problems. This verse teaches us the importance of pausing, analyzing, and acting with wisdom. Prudence helps us avoid mistakes that could have been prevented. This applies to financial decisions, relationships, and important choices. Haste can be the enemy of wisdom. This lesson invites us to slow down and seek direction before taking action. When we think before making decisions, we increase our chances of making the right choices. Wisdom lies in acting at the right time, not just quickly. Teaching 13, the generous will be blessed. A generous man will be blessed, for he shares his bread with the poor. Proverbs 22:9. This verse highlights the value of generosity. Those who share what they have with others demonstrate a kind and willing heart. The Bible shows that God is pleased with those who help others. Generosity is not about the amount, but about the willingness to give. Even small acts can make a difference. This lesson teaches us to look around and recognize the needs of others. Helping someone can transform lives, including our own. God promises to bless those who have a generous heart. When we give, we also receive, not only materially but in peace and joy. Generosity reflects God's character in us. Teaching 14, discipline brings growth. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, as a father the son he delights in. Proverbs 3:11-12. This teaching shows that discipline is part of God's love. Just as a father corrects his child for their own good, God also corrects us to teach us. Often, correction is not pleasant, but it produces growth. This lesson teaches us to accept discipline with humility. Instead of resisting, we should learn from it. God uses these situations to shape our character and keep us away from mistakes. Correction is a sign of care, not rejection. Those who accept discipline grow stronger and wiser. This process prepares us to live in a better way. Teaching 15. He who controls the spirit is strong. Better a patient person than a warrior, one who controls their temper than one who takes a city. Proverbs 16:32. This verse reveals a powerful truth. True strength lies not in the ability to dominate others, but in dominating oneself. In a world that values power, outward achievements, and external victories, God teaches us that the greatest mastery is internal. Controlling one's emotions, especially anger, requires maturity, patience, and dependence on God. Reacting impulsively can cause deep wounds, while self-control preserves relationships and prevents regrets. This lesson shows us that calmness is a form of spiritual strength. When we choose to act with wisdom instead of reacting with impulsivity, we demonstrate self-mastery. In this way, we learn to live with balance, making more conscious decisions aligned with God's will. As we reflect on these 15 teachings from Proverbs, we realize that wisdom is not something distant or complicated. It is a path to be lived every day, in every decision, word, and attitude. God offers us clear direction through His Word, showing that living with wisdom means choosing what is right, even when it isn't the easiest way. Each teaching invites us to look inward, adjust our hearts, and align our lives with principles that produce peace, balance, and purpose. Wisdom is not just knowing what is correct, but practicing it daily with consistency and faith. When we apply these principles, we begin to notice real changes. Our decisions become more secure, our words more uplifting, and our paths firmer. Life is no longer guided by impulses, but led by discernment. Perhaps today is the moment to take a different step. Don't try to apply everything at once. Choose just one of these lessons and start there. And I want to hear from you. Which of these teachings spoke to you the most today? Write it down here in the comments. And to finish, remember, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. Thank you so much for staying until the end of this video. May God bless your life, strengthen your heart, and give you the wisdom to live each of these teachings in your daily life. Stay with God and see you in the next video.